Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to my channel. This is Dea from DM Paints, and in today's episode, you will be learning how to take your artwork to the next level by including additional embellishments. So making your artwork 3D to really make it pop. And in addition, I'll be providing some tips and tricks for resin for beginners. So all of the things that you would want to know before you get started using resin to top coat and really bring your pieces to the next level. Okay, cool. Let's get started. So I have all the materials that I'm going to be using here, along with some green painter's tape on the edge of my canvas. I just picked this up at Home Depot, and this is to make sure that when you're doing your resin top coat, that when it runs on the sides, it's not running on the back of the board, but just directly on the table, which is super important to keep your artwork clean on the back. And I also have some solo cups underneath just to prop up my artwork. All right, so this is everything I need. And another thing is the measuring cup that I'm going to be using to be pouring the resin. This is just from the dollar store. The next cup that I'm gonna be getting is a silicone cup because the resin comes off right away when those are dried. You can just peel the resin off. This is hard plastic, so it's not gonna do that. And then I have a silicone measuring or silicone mixing spatula, and I just want to show you guys when you buy silicone how the resin actually just peels right off, and so you don't need to spend your time kind of scraping it. So I actually double layer my gloves, and this is because I work a lot with the resin, and then when one pair gets sticky, I can just slip them right off and then continue working. And then this is my propane tank, which I just bought at Canadian Tire, and this is to pop any of the air bubbles when you're working with the resin. So for today's project, I'm using a resin called New Classic Resin. So this is the tabletop epoxy resin. This is a Canadian brand that I've actually recently tried and really like the product. It has a decent working time. I've worked with resins that have longer working times. Basically what that is the time that you're given to work on your project before the resin starts to harden. So once the curing process begins, it's really hard to kind of move around the resin, and then you're going to create weird textures in your pieces because you're trying to work with it as it's drying. So if you're doing a bigger project, or you're not simply just doing a top coat, you're actually working the resin and using it to make art that's going to take a little bit longer, you should just try to keep in mind how long you think your project is going to take. I only use this resin for top coats specifically for that reason. So now I've mixed my resin in my cup, and I've mixed 1 part hardener, 1 part epoxy, and I've just put it in a separate cup so that I can add my gold flakes in. Now, if you're just interested in learning how to do a top coat, you can skip this step, but I wanted to give my piece some texture, so I added my gold flakes in the cup. I found that the mixture that I made was pretty thick. I think the next time that I do this project, I want to try it with glitter as opposed to gold flakes, or simply just putting less gold flakes. I found it really overpowered the piece. It was a beautiful piece. You'll see the results in the end, but you will see that the gold kind of overpowered the piece. And originally I had just intended for it to kind of add a little bit of accents and have little gold chunks floating around. So just kind of play around with your ratios and see how much you want to put in. So when you're spreading the resin around, you want to make sure you're not just careless and kind of throwing it over the edges. Try to get it as close to the edges as you can without having it run off. And of course the tape is there to protect the resin from running off, but once it starts to run off the edges, it pulls the rest of the resin. So you really want to try and make sure that it's kind of just sitting on the top, and you can honestly use your fingers to spread it around. I sometimes like that better than just using the spatula for some precision. So I'm just trying to push a little bit of the gold flakes off of the center of the piece, just so that we can see it a little bit better. And here is the advantage of the double gloving. Everything got really sticky. I wanted to play with the stones now, so I used my second pair. So this is Fireglass. This is gold tinted Fireglass that I got from Michaels. I use this in a lot of my pieces. I just love the shine that it gives. I like that it's tinted gold specifically. So we're not going for anything shy of glamorous and bold in this piece. I just wanted all the sparkles, all the shine. And then what I'm doing here is I'm taking my popsicle stick and I'm securing the top stones because I've done kind of like a layering and chunk. I want to secure the top stones with the resin. So here is the brass by PIÑATA. This is the alcohol ink, and I just have my needle tip bottle for precision, and I'm putting the gold just around the stones to give it a little bit of an accent. You don't necessarily need an airbrush. I just use my handheld little airbrush, air compressor, to move around the gold to kind of disperse it a little bit. So here is where the blowtorch comes in handy. So the top nozzle I purchased separately, but I bought them both at Canadian Tire. So you buy the nozzle and then you buy your propane tank and then you just screw it right on. And then this way you can keep your nozzle and then change your propane tanks as needed. And here is the final piece, fully dried. What I liked about this piece is that the gold was actually raised out of the resin, so it was pretty cool. Like you could see the texture of the piece, you could feel it. It was very, very interesting. And yeah, this was a really fun project. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you learned some tips and tricks on how to use resin and just having fun and adding embellishments to your pieces to make them 3D and just, yeah, give it a go, experiment. You guys have my contact below. Send me some photos. I'd love to see some DMs of pieces that you guys have tried, either with gold flakes or additional stones, resin. I'd love to see it, love to get ideas for myself, give you some feedback, whatever you guys need, just shoot me a DM. Take care, guys. See you next time. I'm recording. Okay.